Hey guys, thanks for clicking on our Arrow video collection video. Just wanted to give some context to the video before it starts. Basically, Sarah and I recorded this around the start of 2019, and we have quite a lot to show. Obviously, you can probably tell by the length of the video. But I did want to mention that we did record it earlier this year. So since then, more Arrow video box sets have come out. If you're looking for unboxings and sort of more details on that, we do have some Blu-ray hauls that will be coming out over the next few weeks where we will cover some more current Arrow video box sets and we will catch up very soon. But we did record this at the start of the year and we put a lot of effort into putting this together. We'll make sure to timestamp the video in the description box if you're sort of more keen on specific things, like, you know, if you only want to check out the Steelbooks, we'll timestamp it there. But basically, the box sets is something we put a lot of effort into where, you know, we unboxed everything, showed you all the components whilst we talk over it. So if you're really interested in what's inside the actual box sets and that's your main focus, feel free to obviously click on the timestamp in the video. But we do hope you watch the whole thing, obviously. But yeah, just wanted to mention that, yeah, if you're looking for more current box sets, keep an eye out for the future Blu-ray haul videos where we'll be talking about them then. But apart from that, yeah, thanks for watching. Hey guys, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Sarah.
And today for our first ever video, we're going to be showing you our Arrow video collection, which, I don't know if you can see up here, this big empty space. That is normally where we keep our Arrow video stuff, but we've taken it all down because we were going to show you what we have.
So given this is our first video, we should probably tell you what we're about. So we started this channel to show off our Blu-ray collection, but also we want to do some top 10s, we want to do some analysis, some movie reviews, maybe even some hauls, and yeah, some movie advice things.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of different ideas for a whole bunch of different, you know, kinds of videos that we want to do, but we want to, you know, be a bit more active in the film-loving YouTube community, so we thought it'd be good to start a channel of our own.
Absolutely.
So if you're watching this video, you probably already know who Arrow Video are, but just in case you don't, they are a UK-based film distributor company who sell boutique Blu-rays. The genres that they specialise in are extremely varied. You know, you've got 1980s body horror films and creature features to 1960s, you know, Japanese gangster films, so it's quite diverse in what they put out. One of the distinguishing characteristics of Arrow Video's releases is that they have reversible cover art, which we're going to make sure to show you when we're, you know, showing off our standard releases.
Absolutely. So the way that we're going to break down this video is that we're going to start with standard releases, then we're going to go through our slipcovers, and then our steelbooks, and then finally the box sets.
Yes, the creme de la creme.
Yes.
One quick thing to note as well before we get started is that we have heaps and heaps of Arrow Video releases, so we're not going to say a lot about every single one of them. We'll rattle off them quite quickly, but we'll go more in depth when it comes to like the steelbooks and the box sets and that.
Don't you worry. So I'll start off tonight with Night of the Comet. Little 80s zombie movie. And as we said before, we'll be showing some of the reversible cover art.
Which you can see now.
Yes. So if you're lucky enough to get the first pressing, they'll often come with a booklet that I will show you, which I think is very cool. And then we have Toby Hooper's Eaten Alive, starring Robert Englund, most famously known for his role as Freddy Krueger. Also by Toby Hooper, The Fun House. Comes with the booklet. Now we have Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs. We have Hideo Nakata's Dark Water. I really love this film. It's by the same man who did the original Ring. It's very creepy and also very sad, and there's one scene in particular that's quite memorable. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I really enjoyed this film, yeah. It was a pleasant surprise, actually. It was one of the ones when I first started collecting Arrow Video that I specifically wanted to get in my first batch, and very glad I did, because it ended up being quite a scary but also interesting tale.
Absolutely.
First up from me is one of my new favourite creature features from the 80s. This is The Beast Within. Another one that is really, really fun is Larry Cohen's The Stuff. Love the 2 different artworks on this. Here we have the gooey slugs. This one is great fun.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. One of the more mainstream releases by Arrow, this is Ronin. As we said, we'll include the booklet if we have it. Here's one that I really enjoy watching and struggle to be able to convince Sarah to watch with me. This is The Incredible Melting Man. Which, this was a pleasant surprise actually. The IMDb rating sort of probably scares away most viewers. I'm pretty sure it's only got like a 3.9 or something.
Yeah.
But not
promising.
Yeah. But honestly, this is a really, really good time. The special effects, they're actually done by Rick Baker, who did a bunch of other really huge movies, like some of the Star Wars films. So it's interesting to see, him at work on a film like this. Definitely recommended if you're into like sort of B-grade body horror kind of flicks.
So we have Umberto Lenzi's City of the Walking Dead, also known as Nightmare City.
Very keen to actually check this one out. We haven't watched this one yet, but I'm familiar with a lot of other Umberto Lenzi films, like Cannibal Ferox, and he did Eaten Alive as well. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not the Robert Englund one.
No, not the Robert Englund one. No.
So we have Takashi Miike's The Happiness of the Katakuris. Now, I was with this one until the stop motion came in, and then it just threw me off completely. I'm not generally a fan of Takashi Miike's work anyway, so...
Which is a shame, because I love his films. Like, Ichi the Killer and 13 Assassins are some of his best, in my opinion. I can get behind the sort of absurd nature of films like this, but totally, at the same time, understand if it's not your thing.
So we have an 80s slasher called Madman. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a madman. Alternate cover. Also V cute. Bound by the Wachowski sisters, starring Jennifer Tilly. The original cover art, which we both agree is a little bit basic bitch. So I'm not usually a fan of action, but this is one of the few exceptions. It's got Willem Dafoe, it's got gratuitous violence, and Billy Connolly, and comedy.
Yes, pretty good concoction there. I haven't watched this one for a few years, actually. This is one of the newer ones that we bought. I'm very keen to rewatch it because it's pretty wild from what I remember.
Oh, yes.
Here we have a prison movie called Animal Factory. And this one's directed by Steve Buscemi and actually stars Willem Dafoe and Eddie Furlong. Not the best prison movie by any stretch of the imagination, but still probably worth checking out if you're into that sort of thing. Here we have the wacky Hell Comes to Frogtown, starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. It's always hard for me to say that one. This one I watched for the first time only recently, and this is Rawhead Rex. I actually watched this one with my dad, who started calling him Roughhead Rom just to annoy me because he's super lame. This is technically a limited edition release, but I'll just include it here. This is Evil Ed, which hooked me in with the premise, which is essentially about a guy who edits horror films and gets driven crazy by the process, so he starts killing people and stuff. So definitely not what I was expecting, and to be honest, probably could have been a little bit better, but it's probably still worth checking out. Another one that I only watched recently for the first time is the original Rollerball, starring James Caan. This one came out in 1975, and my dad actually convinced me to watch this one. This is a really, really good film. Definitely worth checking out if you're into sort of... Is dystopian the right word?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Basically, corporations have taken over the world, and their only outlet for violence is in this game, Rollerball. Really, really good. Great social commentary to be found within. It's definitely worth checking out for sure.
So we have Frank Hanenlotter's Frankenhooker. Very interesting covers. Next up we have Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse. So the alternate cover and the booklet, which is very, very creepy. Also equally as creepy, given the context of the movie, is this girl's face. When you watch it, you will understand why that's so scary.
Yes, I do remember that.
So we have Motel Hell. And my favourite tagline, it takes all types of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. Yeah. Brian De Palma's Raising Cain. fantastic movie. John Lithgow plays multiple characters. There's some scenes in it where it wasn't necessarily meant to be scary. Like, the scene itself wasn't scary, but the way it's shot is just terrifying, like blood-curdling.
yeah. Unexpectedly tense in some parts of the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great movie. Not as good as Carrie, but still fantastic. Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery.
It's not my favourite Lucio Fulci film either. It's worth checking out if you want to get into his filmography, for sure. But I definitely do prefer Zombie Flesh Eaters and The Beyond, though.
Definitely.
Here we have a cheesy vampire film from the mid-90s. This one's called Vamp, and stars Grace Jones. This one's not too bad. Pretty cheesy, and has like a bunch of zany characters. Good time at the very least. This next film is a lesser-known adaptation of The Crimes of Ed Gein. You would probably know the story of Ed Gein through its influence on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but this one is Deranged, The Confessions of a Necrophile. Alternate cover art on this one's pretty sleazy. Probably going to pronounce this one wrong. We haven't checked this one out yet. This is What Have You Done to Solange? Here we have the excellent Runaway Train, which is another one recommended to me by my dad. This one is really, really good. Their performances are like top notch in this film. If memory serves me correctly, they actually were nominated for Oscars in this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's got John Voight and Eric Roberts in it. Very, very good prison break movie. These next two movies were directed by Mario Bava, and the first one here is Black Sabbath. This one we haven't actually checked out yet. This is another one we're still waiting to watch. Very keen to check it out, though. And last but not least, for the standard releases, we have A Bay of Blood. Now, this one was... I didn't really like this the first time that I watched it, because I watched it at a time when I wasn't too familiar with like the stylistic characteristics of Italian cinema. Like, you know, the common giallo films. But now that I rewatch it, and now that I'm more familiar with the stylistic choices in those films, and I've grown a fondness for them, I actually really like these films, and I've since grown my Italian film collection, like, exponentially.
It's big.
Yeah. We should also just mention, before we get into the slipcovers that we have here, we're not really huge on collecting slipcovers. We find it's another rabbit hole we don't really want to go down.
Oh yeah.
You'll probably notice if you collect our videos, well, some of the ones that we showed you earlier did come with slipcovers when they were first released. But we figured we'd separate them because we know that some people really like slipcovers on their films. We're not one of them. So we've only got 6 to show. So the first one we're going to show is probably my favourite slipcover, actually, and that's Frank Henenlotter's Brain Damage. This one, so he directed Frankenhooker, like we mentioned before, and you also might know him from his work on Basket Case.
Next we have The Guyver, which is sort of like a cheesy action from the 80s. Stars a young Mark Hamill, and it's pretty much about a guy who stumbles onto some like alien uniform that turns him into like a superhuman. It's like an exoskeleton. Sort of very similar to Ant-Man in that concept.
Yeah, which is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah, and he's like a reluctant hero, and he does karate or something.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in that it's too silly to be good for adults, but too adult to be good for kids.
Yes.
But like it's great fun. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Here we have a set of Takashi Miike films, and this is the Black Society trilogy set. This one comes with which ones? Shinjuku Triad Society, Rainy Dog, and Ley Lines. I have only seen the first one, Shinjuku Triad Society, which was actually quite good. I really enjoyed that one, and I'm keen to check out the remaining 2.
Next we have Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. Very cool edition.
The second last one we have is another one by Takashi Miike, and this is the Dead or Alive trilogy. And this one comes with Dead or Alive 2 Birds, and Dead or Alive Final. It's a nice glossy slipcase there, and that's the other alternative artwork. I've seen the first 2, quite enjoyable. This is really like classic Takashi Miike, like super over the top.
And finally for slips, we have Don't Torture a Duckling by Lucio Fulci. Now this is a giallo, although it is a bit different from the normal giallos as it's set in a small town. And I think it's about a murderer who stalks and murders children, which is very dark. But I also think it would make for an interesting watch. You know, it's a nice change.
Yeah, I do need to refamiliarize myself with the plot of this one. This is one I took a chance on because I really like Lucio Fulci, and I haven't seen him do many giallos before. I know he's done a bunch, but this is the first one that I'm actually going to be seeing, so
Yes.
looking forward to it. Yep, so next up we have the Steelbooks, which is all of these ones here.
Or Steely Dans, as we like to call them in this house.
Yes, yeah, we do call them Steely Dans. Steelbooks is a bit outdated, I think. First of the Steelbooks we have here is the Christopher Walken in King of New York. Now, this one's actually really good. Really great gangster film. It's got Wesley Snipes and Lawrence Fishburne in it as well. I should also mention as well, these most of the Steelbooks will come with this thing on the back, which I'm pretty sure people call J cards. Some of them are a lot harder to take off than others. I really can't stand them because I really want to show you the back, but if I even try to peel this off, it's going to rip. So I'll figure that out later. But I just did want to mention that.
They're the worst. Okay, so we have Toby Hooper's Life Force. Matt went into a great deal of trouble to find this steelbook, and it paid off because it's absolutely gorgeous, I think, and it's one of a kind.
Yes.
Not literally, but...
Well, it's pretty rare nowadays. We can't really show the back of that one because there's a little bit of nudity on that one.
You know how it is.
Yes, exactly. And Screen Factory actually put out their own version of Life Force on Steelbook, but I knew to wait because I wanted to get on our video. If it's not clear already, I do love Takashi Miike, and that is why I am happy to show you one of his newer films. This is Blade of the Immortal, which is like a samurai film, actually. It's not serious like when he did 13 Assassins, but this one is great. Very, very cool.
Alright, so next up we have Lucio Fulci's Zombie Flesh Eaters. Fantastic movie, fantastic steelbook.
Yes. Next up we have The Long Good Friday with Bob Hoskins. Now this one's still sealed because I'm sort of not sure if I want to wait till the box set that comes with this film and Mona Lisa goes down in price, like on eBay, which is why I'm keeping it sealed for the time being. But I'm very happy to have this regardless.
Okay, next up we have Mario Bava's Black Sunday. Very witchy, very creepy, and I love the back of this. I'm in the process of drawing this one, actually. It looks simple, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yes. No, it looks that's one of my more favourite steelbooks for sure. Love the design on that one.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
Next we have one of my probably one of my favourite slashes, actually. This is The Burning, which came out in the same year as the first Friday the 13th, I believe. So I think 1981. Also, don't mind the sticky residue there. That's just to hold the J card. But yeah, this steelbook design is absolutely beautiful. I love this steelbook. And a great film. Very underrated, I think. I mean, those who have seen it, they generally tend to really like it.
Yes.
But I think more people should definitely check this one out, especially if they're into slasher films.
Better acting, better action than Friday the 13th original, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that sequence with the canoe on the river, you remember that? Yeah.
Very creepy.
That was
very
cool.
Creepy.
I love that bit.
So I'm really excited to check out David Cronenberg's Rabid because I'm a really big fan of infection movies. And I love this steelbook. It's just so confronting and blunt.
Next up we have Dario Argento's Inferno, which is actually a sequel to his 1975 film Suspiria. And I'm really, really happy to own this steelbook because this one, like Life Force, is really hard to come by nowadays. So I'm very happy to have it. And as the actual film goes, it's not too bad. Definitely prefer Suspiria and Tenebrae, but this one's not too bad. Probably top 5 Argento for me, I'd say.
Suspiria was much better. This one had a few pacing issues. Seemed like everything important went down in the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
it really annoyed me.
I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. And it's in the cutest shade of blue, I think.
Next we have my newest steelbook, actually, which is The Driller Killer. A nice family-friendly romp. This one I actually got from eBay, from one of the big box sellers, Music Magpie, I think it was.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even though I got it at a really, really good price, it did arrive damaged, which I'm a bit bummed out about. I don't know if you can see that. But what can you do?
Okay, next up we have White of the Eye by Donald Cammell.
Stars David Keith as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you actually are interested in picking up this steelbook, I'm pretty sure this one is still quite readily available. Most of the Arrow video Steelbooks like sell it quite quickly, but this one's still pretty easy to get.
Well, there you go.
Here we have Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is the 1980s remake of I believe the 50s film. This one actually stars Donald Sutherland. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it and Leonard Nimoy as well.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's actually really, really good. Great body horror film as well. Well, you know, there are elements of body horror in this.
No spoil.
Yes, I shouldn't say too much, but yeah, this is a really good one to check out for sure.
So we have another Argento title, Tenebrae, and this steelbook is just so sexy.
Mm-hmm. Next we have Maniac Cop, which stars Tom Atkins and Bruce Campbell. This one, I do want to watch this one again. I wasn't the biggest fan of this when it first came out. I'm not sure if I'm missing something because it did spawn like 2 sequels or something like that. It's not my favourite, but I will watch it again.
Okay, so we have another Cronenberg, and it's Shivers. And this is such a cool steelbook. I know I say that for a lot of them, but it's so unique.
Arrow Video does a good job with all of them, so it's pretty understandable to say how good they all look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love the colours on it too, actually.
Yeah, it's so vibrant.
Here we have what is, in my opinion, one of Brian De Palma's better films. This is Blowout, starring John Travolta and John Lithgow. This one's actually really, really good. I really enjoyed... The premise of this is what sucked me in. It's about a sound engineer who he's out recording sounds from like nature or like the river or something like that, and he witnesses like a car crash and records some like shady sort of dialogue, and then it's like a paranoid sort of investigative journey. So yeah, definitely a cool one.
And now we have my favourite steelbook.
And mine too, honestly.
It's Lamberto Bava's Demons and Demons 2. And I really love these movies because they're quality zombie movies, but they also reflect like the Italian 80s era, pretty much. And it's just, they're celebration of both.
Yes. And people will say, is it zombies or is it demons?
Zombie demons.
Zombie demons.
Just like an Evil Dead.
Next up, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I actually got really cheap off eBay. I got it for like $17 or something like that.
What a steal.
It is a steal. We actually watched this with Sarah's family. This one is...
They loved it.
Yeah, they did, yeah. I hadn't seen it before. We watched it with them, actually. This is like one of the ones where I'd always heard about it, but just never really got around to watching it. Very thankful that I finally did.
Quite creepy, considering how cheesy it is.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Okay, I know I said I didn't like Takashi Miike, but this is his one exception. Audition. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. It starts off as a sort of really sweet romance, and then it just turns so dark and so evil, and it's so beautiful.
Yes, it plays both genres very well, and it
Yes.
interlaces them like perfectly, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the main protagonist, played by Ryo Ishibashi, he's just so charming and so beautiful, and you don't want anything bad to happen to him.
Yes.
Forget about it.
Yeah. I actually owned this on DVD years and years ago, and I always wanted my friends to watch it with me, but they never did. Some friends they are. But yeah, I'm very happy to own this on Steelbook. The last Steelbook that I'm going to show is probably my favourite John Carpenter film, actually. I grew up loving this film. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie, and that is Big Trouble in Little China. This is the Zabby release. Arrow Video initially put this out on... they had their own design for the Steelbook, but it went out of print long before I even started collecting Arrow Video. So I was really happy when Zabby put out their own version of Big Trouble in Little China.
So cute.
Yeah. And again, just like with Audition, it blends genres so eloquently. I love it. It's got elements of horror, comedy, action, just all packed into one. This is... you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't seen it, but if you have not seen it, definitely watch this one.
Okay, finally for Steelbooks, we have probably one of the most famous blaxploitation films. It's Pam Grier's Foxy Brown. It's very cool case.
Yeah, I like this one. Simple but nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the last of the Steely Dans that we want to show you. So next up we have the limited edition box sets, which are always elaborate in nature, and they are very limited, so I'm very happy to own a bunch of these.
Alright, so we'll get this started with Dario Argento's Cat o' Nine Tails. Now, this is another giallo film, and it follows I believe a newspaper reporter and a blind journalist.
Yes.
And I find that with these types of films, like all giallos, they're like, a priest and a bottle cap collector team up to, solve the missing persons case, and there's always a weird combination of them.
Yeah, legit, yeah.
But this is good. Wasn't my favorite giallo, and I never thought I'd hear myself saying that sentence
about a Dario Argento film. Yeah.
Yes.
This next one's probably my newest box set purchase, which is Outlaw Gangster VIP. You can still get this one off the Arrow website. I got this one off eBay. Given that I did buy it recently, I'm still yet to check these ones out. But essentially, what is within the box set is Gangster VIP, Gangster VIP 2, Heartless, Goro the Assassin, Black Dagger, and Kill. So I've got my work cut out for me. I'm definitely gonna catch up on these because there's a bunch of movies in here.
Okay, so we have George A. Romero's Between Night and Dawn. Now, this is supposed to be a trilogy of movies. His biggest releases between, obviously, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. So between 1968 and 1978.
Mm-hmm.
And this includes The Crazies, There's Always Vanilla, and Season of the Witch. We watched The Crazies only the other day, and thought it was pretty good. It was it was decently thrilling. I do prefer the remake. But yeah, so the box set also comes with a little booklet, a little companion.
Yeah, really like the actual design of the booklet itself looks really, really cool. I love the front cover of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very no guessing on what movie that's referring to.
Exactly. One thing that could have made this box set even better was if they included Martin, the other George Romero film. A lot of horror fans really want that to be put out on a decent Blu-ray release, so that would have made this box set even better, I reckon. But still happy with what's included. You'll hear me saying this a lot, but a lot of these are really hard to get, and I'm very happy to finally have owned a bunch of these box sets, one of which is John Carpenter's The Thing, which obviously is a classic. This is, along with Big Trouble in Little China, my favourite John Carpenter film. Absolutely, it's a body horror masterpiece, this one. Unforgettable. I actually didn't mind the prequel that came out in, I think, 2011 with, is it Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think?
What is it called?
It's just called The Thing again.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't change the name, like, literally to anything else, but regardless, this release is excellent. It comes with the film, your standard reversible cover art, and poster, fold-out double-sided poster, and writings on the film. And very sturdy, too. You can hear this.
Nice.
Yes. Very sturdy.
Okay, so I know these aren't traditional box sets, but these window boxes are so cute, and they also took us a while to find. So this is obviously George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I love this movie. I love zombie movies. And this edition is one of a kind. Well, not literally. The only thing I would say about this edition is that it doesn't come with subtitles, and I thought, considering how much we paid for it, I would have loved some subtitles.
Yeah. Another thing I really love about the window boxes as well is that obviously with Arrow's reversible covers, you can choose to display whichever cover you find the best, because it actually has 4 different covers on it. Ooh. Which is really cool about the window boxes. And Dawn of the Dead specifically is very, very hard to find. That's probably one of the most sought after Arrow video releases out there. Another Dario Argento release, this one is Deep Red, which was really, really rare when it first came out in the UK, but it has since had a US re-release, which I was lucky enough to pick up for a really good price. This one's one of his better received giallo films, and I can see why. It's not. I still find Suspiria to be the better film overall, but people do try and make a case for Deep Red being his best film. I can see why. Definitely some really creepy moments, especially with that the doll, which the face of which is probably familiar with a bunch of people who know this movie. Again, got your standard box set, which is great. You got the standard Amateur case, the booklet, and a fold-out reversible poster, which is always awesome.
Following on with the Romero theme, we have Day of the Dead. This is personally one of my favourite zombie movies, and I'm a big fan of zombie movies. So this window box edition is actually signed by the makeup artist Tom Savini, and I got this from Matt for, I believe it was his birthday.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, again, it does not come with subtitles. It's a fantastic look, but it would have been great if there were subtitles, you know, considering how much we did pay for it.
Yes, this is one of the rare ones, so it did set us back a bit, but I'm still happy to have it, but subtitles would have been nice.
Yes.
Next up, we have the first volume of Seijun Suzuki's early years box sets. This one is got a bunch of films which are centered around a certain theme. In this case, it's youth. Included in this box set are the films The Boy Who Came Back, The Wind of Youth Group Crosses the Mountain Pass, Teenage Yakuza, The Incorrigible, and Born Under Crossed Stars. So all these films came out with between the late 50s and mid 1960s, and as I said, they all center around the youth sort of theme. So you got lots of teenage stories in there. The second volume, which I don't have quite yet, but it is on the way actually, is centered around crime and punishment. So I'm very keen to check that out as well.
So we waited a long time for this one, and this is Battle Royale.
This thing is a monster.
It's huge. So this box set includes booklets, the director's cut, the theatrical cut, special features, comics, and postcards. This movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. I imagine most people have seen it.
Yeah, most people are probably familiar with this one, but for good reason.
The whole concept of it is just nightmarish, but
definitely.
it makes for really good cinema.
Yeah, action-packed. I just like, I know you just said it, but the concept is just it's such an intriguing concept.
Oh yeah.
And they explore it so well, I think.
Absolutely, and you just feel sorry for those poor little kids, but let's not get into it. No spoilers.
Yeah, of course not. Next we have Dario Argento's Phenomena, which again, as usual, the box set is absolutely beautiful. This is one of my favourite sets that I own, actually. Just love the design. Included in this is Phenomena and the US edit of it, which is called Creepers. If I remember correctly, the Creepers edit is cut by quite a substantial margin, and is I think it is like the scenes have been shuffled around. I could be wrong on that. I do need to watch that version. I've only seen the normal Phenomena cut. But this one's great. It stars Jennifer Connelly and Donald Pleasance. And they both play their roles really well, and the effects in this are really actually top notch. And he blends. I really like Argento's take on effects because it's usually he walks the fine line between beautiful and disgusting, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay. So next we have 1966's Bloodbath. Now I believe this film's quite interesting because it's been recut quite a few times for different purposes. Because it's received really harsh, really bad ratings.
Yeah, I think it's been thrown around to all these different countries which reshot it for their own distribution.
Yes.
I'm a bit fuzzy on the exact history of that. I do need to look into it, but the point is
a shit show.
Yeah, but all 4 cuts are actually included on this Arrow video box set, which is excellent.
Yeah, apparently it's like watching a new film each time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the differences, and I'm definitely going to look into the reasons behind the cuts and see what actually was the reason for deciding to do it so often.
Yeah.
This next release is by a director named Jorg Buchgereit, and I really hope I'm saying that name right, but this film is The Toad's King, or The Death King. This film is basically about 7 individual episodes that center around the theme of suicide and death. So it's pretty dark stuff, but if you're familiar with any of the works of Jorg Buchgereit, that sort of theme is not a surprise at all. As usual, it comes with a booklet that has writings on the film, and also included inside, which is a really nice touch, is the actual letter that is sent out. I won't give too much away, but there's a letter that is sent out in the movie that encourages the people it's being sent to take their own lives, and a copy of that letter is actually included in this limited edition set. So
sounds like a cheery movie.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so this next one is a bit left of field, but I can't wait to check it out because it looks really interesting. So this is the Female Prisoner Scorpion Complete Collection. And I believe this centers around a woman who is betrayed by the man she loves, and I think she stages a sort of revolt. It's a revenge story, and apparently Quentin Tarantino sort of based his some of his themes off movies of this ilk. Yeah, and it sounds like a really good twist on the typical revenge story.
Yeah, it emphasizes the importance of having a strong female lead, which is what Quentin Tarantino focuses on. You've got Lady Snowblood, for example, is another one similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Black Cats is the next box set that we have here, which is basically 2 films that are based around some of the short stories that Edgar Allan Poe put out. So we have Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat, and Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, which is a mouthful. I have checked out Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat, and I'm very keen to check out Your Vice is a Locked Room. I mean, The Black Cat was quite enjoyable. I really did. Yeah. I actually really liked that one, hey.
It's very, like, creepy, but still very wacky. Like,
yeah.
It managed to be both.
Yeah.
It was one evil cat.
Yeah. The cat in that is such, like...
Such a little bastard.
Yeah. Do you remember the sequence when he's trying to open the door?
Yes.
The cat actually... It's pretty smart. They actually get the cat to open the door.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't know how they do it. So we have the Donnie Darko box set, which includes both the theatrical cut and the director's cut. Now, this is quite a divisive movie, as many of you will know, but I personally love it, and I love this edition. I think it's so sleek, it's so creepy, and I like the movie, even though it does make me feel a little bit melancholy after.
Definitely one of the better examples of how the director's cut can either... It really differentiates itself from the normal cut. I mean,
yes.
Generally that is what a director's cut is supposed to do. It's supposed to be closer to what the director envisioned, but this is an example of two very different shoots of the film.
Yes.
And both of them have their own merits, for sure.
It gives you a lot more exposition.
This box set contains a trilogy of gangster films based in Japan. This is the Kinji Fukasaku's New Battles Without Honor and Humanity. Collectors of Arrow Video probably know that there was a huge set that was just called Battles Without Honor and Humanity. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I wish I did, but you cannot find it for cheaper than like $350-$400, which is insane.
Out of our price range.
Yeah, a little bit out of our price range. But in this box set, you get New Battles Without Honor and Humanity, The Boss's Head, and Last Days of the Boss.
So we have Wes Craven's Last House on the Left. So the box set includes some art cards, the Amateur, and a movie companion. I like this movie. Personally, I like the remake better, just because they could do more with it, giving it in modern context. And this movie sort of seems to end abruptly, but other than that, it was good horror, good revenge story. I
do agree that the modern the remake is a bit more palatable, for sure.
Yes.
There were some issues I had with this film, but overall it's still not too bad. Definitely prefer The Hills Have Eyes. Here we have Luciano Ercoli's Death Walks Twice box set, which includes Death Walks on High Heels and Death Walks at Midnight. These are 2 giallo films that sort of emerged back when giallo was sort of exploding in the early 70s. These are 2 great examples of how giallos can be really effective, I think. Dario Argento obviously is probably the most well-known giallo filmmaker, but these should definitely not be ignored. They should definitely be checked out.
Okay, so this is a relatively recent purchase, City of the Living Dead by Lucio Fulci. This is part of the Gates of Hell trilogy. This is probably my favourite in the Gates of Hell trilogy so far. I've only seen 2 out of 3, but it's quite good. I will say that Italian horror directors are obsessed with maggots. Yeah,
it's really... such a weird, specific but true characteristic of those films. It's like they're trying to intentionally... I mean, they are trying to intentionally gross us out, but maggots is... I feel like maggots is too easy.
It's too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know that they were real maggots.
Yeah, they're really gross.
Yeah, I don't know.
The film doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
No.
But I think it's still enjoyable regardless. And I do prefer this over House by the Cemetery. Although I think The Beyond still takes the cake for the Gates of Hell trilogy. So these next 2 films are probably the most controversial films that I own in our video collection, maybe in my whole collection. These are the 2 other films by Jörg Buchwright, and these are the necromantic films. Most certainly not for everybody. You know what? Funnily enough, I actually don't mind these films. The first one, at least. I actually don't mind this one. I mean, I knew what to expect, but you can't really ever go into a movie like this prepared. It is disgusting, but you know what? I actually don't regret watching it, and these are gorgeous sets despite the actual film content. You get a lot of extra features. The stuff that's packed in here is really good, but I can't really recommend this to anyone.
Okay, so this next box set, Killer Dames, combines 2 themes that we've been talking about tonight. giallo and female revenge films. Very specific, but I can't wait to check those out.
Yeah, that is a relatively new acquisition as well. So we haven't had the chance to check those two out, but we've heard nothing but good things.
Yes.
This is the last Dario Argento film that we have in our Arrow Video collection. This is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This is one of his earlier films, and also, again, one of his better received films. Dario Argento's, his films sort of started to taper off in quality after the mid-80s, but this one was sort of at the start of his career, and really redefined the giallo genre during the boom. Really, really great film, and I definitely recommend it.
So I'm sure we're all familiar with this film, Candyman. This guy gave me plenty of nightmares as a kid, along with Bloody Mary. But I really love this film. I think it's sufficiently scary. But it's also, I love the setting. It's very gritty, very real. And I can't wait to see the remake that's coming out soon. I think Jordan Peele has something to do with it. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's producing it, yeah.
Yeah, so if he has anything to do with it, I will flock to the cinemas.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen this one since I was a kid. And I'm really happy Arrow Video put it out because it actually is a lot more sophisticated than I remember it being.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just, I mean, it has the horror elements that are done really effectively, but it actually is quite layered. I didn't expect it to be, didn't remember it being that way.
It's very deep.
It's deep, bro.
That's what I was thinking.
This one is one of my most treasured releases by Arrow Video, and this is Stuart Gordon's Reanimator, which is based off the H.P. Lovecraftian tale. This film is a cult classic. Most of you have probably already seen it, and it is done so well. Jeffrey Combs is a great actor. He plays the most zany characters I've ever known. Like, he's good in this. He's in From Beyond.
The Frighteners is my favourite role.
Yeah, he's really good in The Frighteners,
He vomits
actually.
whenever someone yells at him.
Yeah.
That's relatable.
Yeah, legit. No, I love this edition. Comes with a bunch of extras as usual. Perfect edition. If you can get this for a decent price, which will probably be hard to do like nowadays, definitely grab it.
Okay. Following on from this, we have Brian Yuzna's Bride of Reanimator, which is also a fantastic movie. I really love this edition. But yeah, no, this movie is fantastic. It's not as good as the original, but it still has its own charm. Mm-hmm. The bride herself is just a creepy little something plucked directly from my nightmare.
Yeah, definitely a worthy follow-up for sure.
Yes.
We need to get our hands on the Vestron release of Beyond Reanimator, which I haven't actually seen before. I've only seen the first two.
Yes. I think the quality declines very fast from Bride to Beyond, but I wouldn't mind checking it out still.
Definitely. Another film directed by Brian Yuzna, and this is actually the first limited edition Arrow box that I ever owned, and this is Society, which is very, very surreal, to say the least.
Disgusting.
I don't know if you can pick this up on camera, but it's actually parts of the box that are protruding. You probably won't be able to tell.
Textured.
But, yeah, it's textured, yes. This film is, as I said, very hard to describe. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want it to detract from your experience watching this film if you've never seen it before. But it has some of the weirdest sequences that I've ever seen on film. This release is actually quite notable as well because it contains a comic book within that actually serves as the official sequel to the film itself. And the comic book is called Society Party Animal. Very, very cool.
Okay, so another Wes Craven classic that has a worthy remake, The Hills Have Eyes. So this movie, considering how old it is, considering it was made in the 70s, it felt quite modern, like the acting, the effects, the pace of it. It felt, there was no point in where I was like, oh, this is clearly a 70s movie. It was all fantastic, and I think in this case, the original is better than the remake. So the acting is quite good, and I think they get away with doing a lot of things off camera that make the film still effective, still gory and edgy, but it doesn't show you too much, which is, it feels quite respectful.
Definitely, yeah.
In that sense.
Along with Reanimator, this is another one of my favourite box sets to own, which is David Cronenberg's Videodrome. Now, I absolutely adore this film, and I encourage anyone who's not seen it to check it out. This is probably my favourite body horror film of all time, and this edition pays such respect, I should say, to the film and its quality. Included inside, you actually get David Cronenberg's early works, so some of his short films, which are worth a look as well. But this edition is really, really hard to find, but if you can get it, definitely do, because it is such a great piece to own.
So we have The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, it feels almost sacrilegious to be showing a sequel without the original, but unfortunately Arrow hasn't released Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wish they would.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, same.
And 1 and 2 are two very, very different movies. Like, same Leatherface, just very different thematically. Like, Texas Chainsaw 2 is, like, sort of comedic,
like absurdist humor almost.
Yeah, it makes fun of itself, but still very, very creepy. It doesn't take itself as seriously as the first one. Yeah,
definitely, again, a worthy follow-up, but not in the direction that most people would expect. I feel like people who go straight from watching Texas Chainsaw 1 to this without knowing anything about it are going to be in for a shock, and it'll depend on the person whether or not that's a good thing or not.
Absolutely.
So another box set that's really hard to find is this one here, which is the House Collection. Now this one is the one that was released in the UK, so it actually includes all 4 House films. The Arrow release in the US only includes the first 2, so I was happy to get this one because it's more bang for your buck. I'm always down for haunted house films, and this one is done quite well. I will say though, I've only seen the first 2 so far. The first one was quite enjoyable. There was a considerable decline, I would say, in quality, personally, in my opinion, of course, between 1 and 2, and from what I understand about the others, that decline continues to steep down even further. But, like, as with a lot of other Arrow video films, they're going to be cheesy in some way or another, so if you can get behind that, I definitely would have a look into this. The first one, at the very least, is worth checking out.
Okay. So we have Brian De Palma's Carrie for my last box set. This epitomizes the female revenge genre that I've been going on with my box sets tonight. But obviously, if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's a classic. Brian De Palma's best work, in my opinion. It is a staple. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, very faithful and very worthy adaptation of Stephen King's novel as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I've read Carrie and I've watched Carrie. Obviously, I prefer the film, but the book, as far as the book goes, definitely, as I said, a worthy adaptation. These last 2 box sets we're going to show are absolutely gigantic. The first of which here is the Phantasm box set. This one has all 5 films, and if you're not familiar with the Phantasm franchise, they range from, like, the first one came out like 1979, and all the way up until the most recent one came out in
2016.
Yeah, 2016, which is Ravager. Yeah, definitely a weird kind of series. I quite like this one, and I'm sorry if I pronounce his name wrong, but I believe it's Angus Shrim. He plays his character so well. It is very, very memorable. Unfortunately, he did pass away very recently, but he'll definitely be remembered for his role in this series.
Yeah, what a legend.
And last but certainly not least, we have the almighty Hellraiser trilogy Scarlet box set. This thing is gigantic and is huge, and what better way to honor the amazing franchise that Hellraiser is than with a huge box set like this.
You know what? I'm gonna go out and say it. First one's the only one worth watching.
I'm sorry to everyone out there. That's probably the most offensive thing she said tonight. This one includes the first 3, which are all worth watching in my opinion. After that, yeah, fair enough. Maybe give them a miss. First one is a classic. Yeah, you can't really argue against it. It's definitely amazing to watch. The special effects, they're so good. Yeah. The restorations on the first 3 films here are really, really well done. Also included in this set is a documentary on the works of Clive Barker. You even get 2 of his short films and even a 200-page hardcover book.
Bloody
which
hell.
Is really, really extensive. There's a reason why this is one of the most well-known box sets that Arrow Videos ever put out, because it is magnificent. In case you were curious, Arrow Video also has a line called Arrow Academy, which is pretty much, I guess, I would describe it as their version of Criterion, in that they put out sort of more grounded, art house films, I guess you could say. Not exclusively, obviously, but that would be one way to describe it. I don't really have many releases. I've only got this one box set, which is the Family Values box set, and 3 films here, which is The Hunt, Network, and The Killing by Stanley Kubrick. I'm very new to collecting this. We have a few more coming in, actually, but that is one part of the collection that I do want to keep building up. As far as what releases we are still yet to collect, there are a bunch that we are still missing. We are looking to fill those gaps. There are a couple that we deliberately don't own, like for example, the Pieces box set and the Beyond Steelbook. While those releases are excellent, we do already own the Grindhouse releasing editions of those films. Some of the ones we are trying to keep an eye out for are American Horror Project, as I said before, Battles Without Honor and Humanity. Stray Cat Rock is another one. They're very hard to come by and they're quite expensive, so if you have them, you should give them to us. If you stuck with us through that whole video, we really do appreciate it. Obviously, it took us a while to get through these films, but we love talking about this stuff, and we really, really wanted to show this for our first video.
Thank you very much for joining us and watching us as we journeyed through this collection. We hope you can join us for some other videos. Thank you.